All right, guys, let's talk about saturation in California and how to turn it into an advantage and an opportunity rather than a hindrance to your success. Because so many of us know saturation can be discouraging. Like you can start to get down on yourself really easily because it takes like three doors of people saying, "Is this solar? I don't want solar." Three doors, dude, and then you're like, nobody wants solar. The whole state is saturated. Every house that needs solar has already been sold. I can't do this. Like it's so easy to go down that negative downward spiral. However, if we make a few tweaks to the way that you're seeing saturation, you can actually take saturation and turn it into an opportunity. The saturation, first of all, it's not real. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that one on why saturation doesn't even have to exist if you don't want it to. But what everyone else perceives as saturation can very easily be turned into an opportunity. The words adversity and opportunity can be synonymous if approached with the proper mindset. And what a lot of people see as adversity can very, very easily be turned into an opportunity when approached the right way. So how do we distinguish ourselves from everyone else going around selling solar, everyone else starting a solar company? Why would a customer choose to work with you or me or whoever it is? Why would they choose to work with us instead of the last 10 to 15 people who came by and knocked on their door, or the last 10 to 15 ads they saw on TV or phone calls they got, right? Now, the fundamental principle here is if you change the context, you change the allowable behavior. And you're going to hear me say that all the time because it's one of the most fundamental principles to human influence and behavior and why people act the way they do in certain situations. So when I say change the context, you change the allowable behavior, what does that actually mean? A classic example, if you're walking down the street and someone walks up to you, they put a razor blade on your neck, what is the behavior that you're gonna do there, right? You're gonna karate chop them, you're gonna run away, you're gonna do something, dude. You're gonna get out of there. Whereas if you're in a barber shop, you're in your haircut, and someone puts a razor up to your neck, it's actually totally normal. It's not weird. It's actually acceptable for that behavior to happen. So the only thing that changed there, you got a razor put up to your neck in both situations, but the only thing that changed there is the context. Now, if we can do the same thing with solar, we can actually change the behavior of the customer to the point where they can actually go solar with you. So changing the context, because think about this, no one ever says no to solar. They only say no to the context. And as we go through this more in depth, you're going to start to see how people, they're not actually saying no to solar. They're just saying no to whatever they see the context as. So if we can help them shift their perspective of the context of the situation, whatever it is, with solar, with themselves, with their family, with the utility company, with the state of California, with the federal government, whatever it is, the context that we're shifting, now we create a space, we give them permission to behave differently. We help them give themselves permission to behave differently. So what does this actually look like? Well, if we're going to change the context, first we need to understand what the current context is that they are seeing the world through. And there are a few different aspects to this context or situation that they're viewing. There's the way that they see solar, how solar works, how you get solar, how you pay for solar, how it's installed. There's who you are, right? This person knocking on their door. It's very different if you are just another solar salesman in a polo shirt with the logo and you're there to sell them solar just like everyone else. That's one context. Whereas if you were, say you worked with an install crew and you were doing an install up the street and then you knocked on the door and you just wanted to talk to them. I'm not saying that you are with the install crew, but that would just be a different context. And there are a few other ones we'll talk about in a second. Some other contexts are like the laws in California. or like even the utility company and their regulations and their rates and how that works. So what are the different contexts that our customer might be seeing solar through? What is the paradigm that they're seeing? The first one, like how solar works, most people, believe it or not, they're still under the impression that they have to pay for solar panels. They're under the impression they have to put a deposit down, that they have to go into debt, that they have to pay a lot of money, that solar panels are expensive. And that's one of the like most classic, the most simple ways to change the context is if you can help them understand, if they can be the ones to understand, hey, you don't actually have to pay for the panels. And I'm going to talk about PPAs a lot in these videos, just because in California, frankly, I don't think loans make much sense. Maybe there are some unique circumstances where they do, but for the most part, the power purchase agreement is one of the most phenomenal products that there is for a homeowner in California without solar yet. So how solar works, the PPA, dude, that's a total paradigm shift for a lot of people in California. And you will get a lot of people to listen to you just because you're pitching a PPA. You're explaining solar in a way that completely shatters everything they ever believed about solar. There's no money down. There's no debt. There's no financing. If they move, there's no debt transferred to the next homeowner. Moving's actually super simple, and the new homeowner gets grandfathered in to the new rate. So the new homeowner doesn't have to qualify for the solar payment. That's totally novel for a lot of people, and that for a lot of people will be enough to give them space to have permission to act differently and say, oh, solar isn't what I thought it was. So now I can behave differently. Another one is like the laws in California. For example, the recent one was net metering 2.0 to 3.0. When that law passed, the context was different. Like the utility companies received more solar applications than they ever had. And volume was, I don't even know what it was, but it was like insane, dude. The number of solar applications that were submitted. Why did so many people suddenly have permission to go solar? Whereas for the last 10 to 15 years with the high electric rates, they didn't have permission to go solar. Well, the context was different, right? There was a deadline. There was a hard deadline. Hey, if you don't get your application in by April 14th, you're shafted, bro. It's like you only have this opportunity to get on net metering 2 once, and if you miss it, it's over. You're on NEM 3, whatever that means. Nobody knew what it would mean. It was super scary. So, and there are other examples of this as well, but like the laws in California can be one context that they're seeing things through, and it can also change. And then also the utility company regulations, right? Like utility rates, the rates are going up. Grid hardening, right? The utility is paying to upgrade infrastructure. There's because of these fires, and they're paying for fires and lawsuits. They're going bankrupt. All these things. Oh yeah, our utility. Yeah, they just wrote on our utility bill. They're literally raising our rates by 22.6% over the course of 2024. That might be a new context for people, right? You point that out. Hey, check your electric bill. Let's look at this real quick. Oh yeah, proposed SCE rates go up 22.6%. By the end of 2024, they're going to be up 23%. That's crazy, right? And some people, they're not even aware of the fact that their utility company just raises the rates whenever they want, however much they want. They don't even think about it, right? They just put it on auto pay. They just let it go. And they never question it. And so when we can bring these things to their attention, when we can highlight and identify, hey, this context is different. The context now is not the same as, I know you looked at solar last year, but the context has changed. And because the context has changed, now you, Mr. Homeowner, you have permission to act differently and reconsider solar in a way that will actually benefit you because the context is different. So when we understand how they're currently seeing it, right, all those things we talked about, the way that they're currently seeing their situation, now we can make those tweaks, we can make those adjustments so that now that we have shifted the context, now that it's not the same situation as the last time that they considered solar, now they can behave differently. And they can behave differently to the point where, They'll even reconsider solar with you because you're different, right? You're distinguishing yourself. You're not like all the other solar guys, all the other solar companies, all the other little solar people running around trying to sell solar panels. No, dude, you're doing something different. You're doing something different. So that's it for, saturation can be your advantage. Now, as far as practical things go, how do we actually implement this? In the next video, I'm going to break down when you knock on the door and they say, what, is this solar? Right? We've heard it a million times. Is this solar? How do you handle that in a way that actually shows that, yeah, you are different, right? What you're doing is different. Excited to share with you. I'll see you there.